Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Public health inspectors awaits response from Finance Ministry over new wage claims. Fire scare at Central Sorting Office on South Camp Road. And later in sports, Raymond Anderson comments on the reggae girls situation. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. The Jamaica Association of Public Health Inspectors say the organization is running out of patience. This as it's yet to receive a response from the Finance Ministry to its wage claims under the new compensation scheme. The details in this report. Currently, over 450 public health inspectors are employed across Jamaica, but most of them are not happy, especially with the Finance Ministry. President of the Jamaica Association of Public Health Inspectors, Michael Mills, says the Ministry of Finance is yet to respond to claims under phases 1 and 2 of the new compensation scheme for its members.
Furthermore, we are unsettled with the nonchalant attitude towards our cry to increase the tax threshold, which would see members taking home more on their salary or increasing their net pay. Dialogue should prevail. We do not have to take archaic measures to get the attention of the government. We believe in dialogue.
Mr. Mills was speaking at a church service in Manchester recently to highlight the 77th anniversary of the association. That aside, Mr. Mills says with the country still experiencing a dengue outbreak, his members remain challenged with resources. He says part of the problem is that a number of communities are still without reliable piped water, and most persons continue to store the commodity, which further adds to the problem.
We have seen our interns going out, for example, in a community in St. James, mobilizing the community and having piped water in that community. Through community effort, we have seen a reduction in the mosquito population within in these communities. And so we are saying it does work. All we are asking is that the political will embrace public health recommendations.
Mr. Mills is also calling for more support too from stakeholders. He thinks a more proactive approach in tackling vector-borne diseases in the country will help in controlling the spread of certain viruses. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says he plans to meet with heads of the overseas medical missions following a statement he made that these groups were doing more harm than good. Dr. Tufton says he was speaking specifically about some dental teams. Addressing the issue on TVJ's Smile Jamaica, he says he raised a legitimate concern.
In the way it has by those in the diaspora who are speaking to it. I do plan to have a discussion or dialogue with them because I don't want the impression to be given that we're against partnership. I've been one of the biggest advocates of partnership in all spheres as it relates to public health. So I don't want that impression to be given.
Dr. Tufton says some oral health missions have entered the country under the radar, and their focus is on extractions, which is a problem.
And to set up shop somewhere in some community and to carry out these activities. And it does happen. It does happen. So it's a legitimate concern.
A fire at a section of the Central Sorting Office on South Camp Road has been contained. When TVJ News arrived on the scene, several staff were seen gathered outside the building as firefighters began cooling down operations.
9:08 a.m. this morning, we received a call of fire at the Central Sorting Office, that is at South Camp Road. On arrival of that unit, they recognized that the fire was confined to rubbish at the rear of the premises. Another unit was subsequently sent to the location to provide assistance. However, the fire is now under control.
The People's National Party is renewing calls for the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, to call both the local and general elections. The issue was raised at a party meeting in St. Mary last night. O'Shane Masters reports.
The people need a change now. That's the cry of the opposition in calling for the Andrew Holness-led government to call the elections. Speaking in St. Mary on Sunday night, President of the People's National Party, Mark Golding, said the JLP administration has only made promises which they have not kept. Chief among them, term limits, which was in the JLP's manifesto from 2016.
I say to the Prime Minister, live your word. The situation not looking so good. Term limit sounds like a good idea in your case. Step aside and give somebody else a chance. The people want a government of integrity.
In the latest RGR Gleaner Don Anderson poll looking at term limits, 77% of Jamaicans said there should be term limits for the executive president, which is similar to the position of Prime Minister. Mr. Golding also chided the government for what he says is a lack of interest in the public healthcare system. Currently, a number of the island's hospitals are buckling under the pressure due to overcrowding and a shortage in health professionals.
We have a health system where when you're sick and you go to a public hospital, you might have had a stroke, you might have pneumonia, you might have some other critical illness. You can't get no bed. You have to sit down in a wheelchair on a bench for 24 hours, for 48 hours, and suffer. There's no dignity for the people under the Jamaica Labour Party government.
He says a new PNP government will seek to fix the ills in the society.
The journey ahead is not going to be an easy journey, but we're on a noble mission. We have to fix the deep challenges and crises facing the country. We have to set up the education and training system so our youth have a proper chance in life, so our workforce is productive and can attract the kind of investment that can build an economy and build wealth for the people. I am not here to scrape. I am here to serve you and serve the people of Jamaica.
Now, Mr. Golding was speaking at the presentation of candidates for the local and general elections, where Lauren Ferguson was announced as the MP candidate for Southeast St. Mary. He will be going up against the JLP's Dr. Norman Dunn. Meanwhile, there were 5 new councillors announced for the parish. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And key members of the Jamaica Labour Party continue to defend the achievements of the party. The Justice Minister, Delroy Chuck, was among those insisting the government is working. He was speaking at a party meeting in Lawrence Tavern in St. Andrew. Unemployment and improving the minimum wage are two main issues the Andrew Holness-led government has been tackling in the last few years. That's according to Justice Minister Delroy Chuck, who is also a member of Parliament for St. Andrew North East.
The minimum wage when we came in 2016 was under 6,500. It is now 13,000, double. The minimum wage has doubled. Every public sector employee, their salary, most of them have gone up over 100% from 2016.
He says he's taken note that while the Ministry of Finance added some $120 billion to the salaries of public sector workers, some are still not satisfied. However, he's calling for patience as, according to him, things will get better.
As more resources become available to the government, all those who are complaining, like the teachers and some nurses, there's no doubt when the resources come that their salary will continue to improve.
Jamaica's unemployment rate remains at 4.5%, but Mr. Chuck is expecting that things will improve as over 200,000 jobs are being created.
If you look at all the business institutions, if you look in the newspaper today under the career section, jobs available, urging, begging people to come and apply for jobs. Drivers are needed. All the fast food places need workers. All the business establishments are begging for workers. And so jobs are available. For the first time, workers can pick and choose what jobs they want.
It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. At least one student leader is encouraging school administrators to be careful of how the new school grooming policy is communicated to students. Speaking at a school grooming forum in Manchester recently, head girl at the Carteret College, Sabrina Bailey, explained that students are not necessarily rebellious, they're just following cultural trends. As a result, she told school administrators that the messaging behind the school rules needs to be communicated.
If it is as teachers, as principals, as dean of disciplines, that you see the hidden message, you have the hidden curriculum, that's the time you tell us that whilst I understand that you love the Clarks. You know who promote Clarks? You know where that person who promote Clarks is right now? You actually educate them about the message that you see behind it. Because we are not really watching the message. We are looking how we look.
She further indicated that the orientation process and the tone of conversation on grooming will determine how students respond.
How we are spoken to, about how we express ourselves is very important. Whereas you might say, oh Sabrina, you have on an afro, your hair is ungroomed, I will feel away. What if you said, Sabrina, okay, you're at the front of the class, not many persons can see. You are very interactive with the teacher. You cannot blocking a few persons. Just catch it up a little to the back. I will. And after school, I'll pull it out because class is finished.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
The Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, estimates that Jamaica's real estate, renting and business activities industry grew by 1.8% in the second quarter ended June. The entity says this was due to an increase in the business activities sub-industry. Statin says the sub-industry's growth was mainly due to more rentals of other machinery and equipment and more investigation and security activities. However, the real estate sub-industry declined for the period. Further afield, Chevron Corp says it will buy its rival Hess Corp in a $53 billion all-stock deal as it looks to increase its footprint in oil-rich Guyana. The deal puts two of the top oil giants, Chevron and ExxonMobil, head-to-head in two of the world's fastest-growing oil basins, shale and Guyana. Guyana has become a major oil producer in recent years after huge discoveries by ExxonMobil, its partner Hess, and China's Sinopec, which together produce 400,000 barrels per day from 2 offshore vessels and have said they could develop up to 10 offshore projects. To purchase Hess, Chevron is offering $171 for every Hess share, implying a premium of about 4.9% to the share's last close. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Hurricane Tammy is expected to affect portions of the Lesser Antilles during the next few days. This as the system moves away from the Caribbean islands. Late Friday into Saturday, the Category 1 Hurricane Tammy was bearing down on the islands of the Lesser Antilles, and the twin islands of Antigua and Barbuda were placed under hurricane warning. Barbuda received most of the heavy winds and rain, which led to fallen trees and damage to a communication transmission tower. Authorities are awaiting detailed reports from Barbuda to assess the extent of the damage. Tammy is said to be moving toward the northwest near 9 miles per hour, and a turn toward the north is expected late tonight, followed by a north-northeast or northeast motion on Monday and Tuesday. In the United States, House Republicans are still on the hunt for a new Speaker of the House. They are expected to hold a candidate forum Monday night and look for someone to succeed Kevin McCarthy, who was ousted earlier this month. Jim Jordan of Ohio exited the race for Speaker Friday after 3 failed bids. Since then, numerous Republicans have thrown their hats into the political ring. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Kelisha Williams.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Jordan Ford.